Alright, on the old Buick Roadmaster 57 Chevy project, I had her stripped down here and cut the firewall down quite a little ways, so I was going to take her over and get it weighed in one last time while she still powered herself, and she wouldn't fire up. I mean, it kind of started and then died and didn't run very good, so I figured I probably unplugged something that I shouldn't have, or had something messing with the security system with the VATS key system on this. So went ahead and tracked through everything, didn't see where anything was unplugged, and I checked the ohms, make sure everything was going right with the VATS key system, and it seemed to be working properly. So I think it's probably over here with this optispark setup, which is kind of a common problem with the lt1s. I went ahead and checked the coil, you know, before I thought about tearing into the optispark setup, which is down here underneath this resonator. So I think we're going to go ahead and replace the optispark because it does look kind of wet, like the water pump's been leaking a little bit. This car had been setting for about 6 months to a year, the guy said, that I bought it from when I initially purchased it for like 650 bucks. So we're going to go ahead and start tearing into this. I'm going to, in case any of you guys out there haven't replaced the optisparks before, it's pretty easy, but I'm going to kind of go through that step here. Just in case there's anybody out there wondering how to do that. But what we're going to do, this will be the same on a Caprice and like Cadillac Fleetwood. The Camaros and Corvettes are kind of the same, except for they've got a little cleaner setup when it comes into this this air intake system. So we'll remove the resonator that's right up here first, this one, and the mass airflow sensor. Get that stuff out of the way. And this particular Roadmaster had the tow package, which actually has a fan as the primary. It's actually a mechanical fan, and then one electric fan. If you didn't have the tow package, then you're going to have two electric fans. So we'll take the top side of the shroud off after we get this resonator and stuff out of the way, and then we'll be able to see exactly what we've got a little closer there. So once you get those resonators and the mass airflow and the shroud off, you can see a lot better what's going on in here. So basically, we need to get this water pump off, and if you have the tow package, in order to do that, you need to take off the fan first, because what I usually do is, like I said, it's easier to undo these bolts while the belt's still on. That way, it keeps this pulley from spinning, for you can loosen the bolts pretty easy. Because there's a bolt that holds that water pump on that's behind this pulley, so that's why you have to go ahead and pull the fan off here. So once we get that out of the way, then we can drain a little bit. I drain the fluid in the radiator, but you can't get very much of the water out of these motors since they're reverse flow, because the way it has this pipe here for your lower radiator hose that comes up, and there's no way of actually getting it drained real easy. So it's kind of a messy job on these LT1s. So we'll go ahead and get this fan off of here and pulley, and this whole pulley assembly, actually the fan assembly here, and then we'll start on the water pump. Alright, so we got that pulley removed, and what we did now is we went ahead and pulled everything loose, but I'm going to go back through and kind of show you how it's laid out. As far as that fan assembly, it's actually held on by 3 of the actual water pump bolts here. You got one here and one down here towards the other end, and one on the right side. So those 3 of your actual water pump bolts. So as soon as you get it out of the way and set off to the side, you can just take off the 2 bolts that holds the thermostat housing, and I just slide the clamp out of the way and slip the hose off, get it out of the way. And then you've got 2 hoses, 2 smaller heater sized, heater hoses that goes off of the water pump on the left hand side if you're facing it, passenger side. And what you do is pull them out. The bottom one's going to actually drain a lot of the antifreeze, so if you can get the bigger the pan, the better, because that way it catches most of the antifreeze, because you're going to make a pretty good mess on it. And then as far as on this side, you've got 1 bolt in the middle on the outer edges of the water pump, and on this side you can get down here and kind of see somebody's twisted it off at one point. So we'll try to get it extruded once we get the pump out of the way. On the other side, there's like a smog pump deal that's held on. So you'll have a stud on that center outer bolt. Or there's going to be a stud there. So you take the nut off, and then you have to remove this. There's 3 bolts that holds this smog pump on. You get it setting out of the way. And then there's going to be actually 3 bolts that holds this bracket on. One of them which is on that stud. So when you take that nut off, it'll slip right off. And then the other one, you can see it on down there, kind of towards to the middle of that bracket. And then there should be a third one down at the very bottom, but somebody didn't end up putting it back on either. It looks like it was kind of a bear to get to. And no more than this bracket holds. I'd say you'd probably be all right, you know, if you don't put that one back. It's not really gonna take a whole lot to hold the hold that little plastic smog pump or whatever, air pump or whatever you want to call it, because the bracket, you can tell, is definitely overkill as far as you know, the rigidity goes. I mean, that thing would support a heck of a lot more than they're holding there. So the 2 bolts is probably more than enough on that if you don't want to end up putting those on. So once you get the little bracket out of the way, then you'll be able to remove that outer stud on this side. And the water pump should be ready to slide off of there. Now there's a shaft that drives these that's on the back side with some splines, so you know, I don't know how secure it's actually going to be on there, especially since that stud's twisted off on the other side. So it might take a little bit of a pry bar or something to kind of get it popped up off of there. So I'll grab a pry bar and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we got us a pry bar here. We'll get back in, see if we can kind of persuade this water pump into moving a little bit. Alright, now that we got the old water pump pulled off of there, we can see a lot better here. The next step is to go ahead and pull off that serpentine belt. If you haven't replaced it in quite a while on your lt1, it might be a good time to go ahead and get a new belt for it, since it's easy to get to and you have it all opened up here. So get the belt off, then we're going to go ahead and pull the harmonic balancer off. And there's 3 bolts that holds it on. There's actually 6 bolts under there. There's 3 that holds the pulley to the balancer casting, and then there's actually 3 bolts that holds the actual casting of the balancer to like a 3-flange hub. So it's not like the traditional small block Chevys where you have to, you know, it's pressed on and you have a hard time pulling it off. Usually they come off of there pretty easy. So we'll get it out of the way, and then we'll have access, pretty easy access to that optispark setup. And then we'll go ahead and extract that broken off stud or bolt over there on the passenger side. Because actually I think that's where this one was actually leaking. It wasn't actually the weep hole on the water pump. It was actually leaking around the gasket there, probably because of the expansion and contraction of the aluminum against the iron there. It probably eventually started leaking since that bolt had been twisted off. So we'll get that pulled off and we'll take another look at it. Alright, so once you get the harmonic balancer off of there, and actually this one came off a little harder than I remember. It's been probably 20 some years since I've messed with these, back when I'd run a couple Camaros and stuff around. So I think time's kind of played its toll on them. This hub right here was a little bit rusty, so you might have to use a puller on it. I was able to get mine off without a puller, but I'll probably go ahead and take a little piece of emery cloth and clean the rust off that hub there and off the inside of the balancer before I stick it on. And I might actually put a little bit of anti-seize or something in case I have to pull it off again in the future. So once that's out of the way, then you can label these wires any way you want. I just, like I said, 1 through 4 on each side. That way I know I put them back on right. So when all that's out of the way, you got 3 bolts that holds the optispark on. One here, and one down underneath. I think it's underneath here somewhere. It might be. Yeah, it's down here on this corner here. So after you do that, there'll be one little vacuum line that's on the driver's side down at the bottom. You slide that off, and the plug that controls the optispark up here on the top. You just kind of be careful with it. This stuff's getting old, so you just kind of work it up, get it out of the way, and then the distributor will come straight out, straight forwards, and there's nothing to worry about on these as far as timing goes. They're not like the traditional small block Chevy where, you know, the distributor has to be in a correct location, you know, be on the right firing order. These are pretty much there's no way to put it on wrong unless you accidentally, you know, force it in there, because there's a little tab, kind of like what's on a rotor of a traditional Chevrolet engine. When you put the rotor on, it has that little notch that fits down in the groove. That's the way these distributors are. So there's not actually any way that you can screw it up when you go to put it back together. Another thing, when you pull the water pump off, you want to be careful not to lose the little spline here that drives the water pump. And what I do, like I said, it's probably not necessary, but I always put a little bit of grease on this shaft and also on the water pump just to keep these splines from wearing. I doubt you'll have any trouble. This thing has almost 200,000 miles on it, and it still feels pretty good. But I want to get quite a few more miles out of it, so I just like to put a little bit of grease on there. So we'll go ahead and get the distributor off, pull the plug wires, and we'll get back on this stud over here. I don't know if you can see it very well or not. We're gonna do an extrusion on that, and then we'll be ready to put her back together. Alright, so what we're gonna do is unconnect the negative side of the battery over here so we don't burn up the computer, and we're gonna set this nut directly over that broken off stud and weld this in and try to get it as hot as possible so it'll actually cause that stud inside that block to shrink a little bit once it cools. We'll let that cool down for a little while, and then we'll try to back it out. Well, we've given that stud and that nut about 15 minutes or so here to cool down. So I'll show you next what I usually try to do to get her backed out of there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, and you end up having to drill and tap it anyways. But what I usually do is come in here with like a cordless impact. And after I've given her a little time to cool down, kind of hard to do it one-handed here when I'm trying to hold the camera here, but we put her on there, and I try to just give it short bursts. I think that vibration, that hammering, kind of you'll get that rust kind of working. I think if you sit there and wrap on it, sometimes it seems like they twist right off, and you have to try to weld them again if you have any material. So usually these little short bursts, I found that seem to be a little better at getting them back out. All right, looks like we got it. So, like I said, that isn't always a success, but I found that it actually does work pretty good. Oh, I'd say probably 80% of the time on getting them out of there. Because, like I said, that heat causes the, causes this to shrink once it cools. And it seems to back them right out of there. So now I guess we'll go ahead and clean up our gasket surfaces there and get ready to start putting everything back together. Alright, so we got this all cleaned up here and ready to go back together. So as I was saying, on this optispark distributor setup, as you can see, it's got the one over here with the little groove in it. That one right there will actually line up with the dowel that's sticking out on the driver right here. So there's only one way to get these to go back together. I'm pretty sure that if you tried to put it onto this hole or this one, I don't think it'll actually fit. So you can't really mess these up on the timing. And earlier I stated that there's only one vacuum line on them. That's kind of what I remembered, but after looking at this one and the one I took off, it looked like there's two vacuum hoses on the bottom. So there's one here and one here, unless that one down here is like maybe a vent or something. But anyways, I did tell you wrong on that, that earlier when I was pulling the other one off. So we'll go ahead and get this put on, and then we'll go ahead and get the water pump put on there. Alright, so we got the old optispark mounted back on there, and the plug wires and vacuum lines hooked back up, the harmonic balancer. So now we're ready to go ahead and put the water pump back on. So we went ahead and used a little high tack after we cleaned up all the gasket mating surfaces, and we did the same thing on the water pump itself. We got the gaskets on it, and we went ahead and put a little bit of grease on the splines of the water pump drive on it, and also where it comes out of the motor there. That's probably not necessary. It's just something that I do just to keep those splines in a little bit better shape. So now we're going to go ahead and mount the water, and also when we put the water pump on, I always put a little bit of silicone on the threads of the water pump bolts, because you're actually going into several water jackets, so to keep them from leaking around the bolts. So we'll get the water pump mounted up and we'll go from there. Alright, so we got the water pump back on, the belts, hoses, wiring all plugged back in. So now we're getting down to the last stages here of getting the coolant put back in and hooking the battery back up. And on these lt1s, they have a reverse flow cooling system, which it's kind of a neat setup, but it's also extremely hard to get all the air out of the system. If it gets airlocked, there's no way of circulating the coolant. So the way the factory did it, they put the little bleeder valve right here on top of the water neck, if you can see down in here where the screwdriver's at. And it's kind of a bad spot there, because when you open it up to bleed the air out, as the coolant makes its way up to the top, it's going to run right down onto your new optispark. So what I usually do is put some paper towels or some rags down there to try to absorb as much of the water that does come out, or coolant that comes out of that little bleeder valve. But that's probably the most critical part of the whole deal, is making sure that you do get the air completely out of your system there, or the water pump won't be able to circulate. So we'll get that all bled, get the battery hooked up, and we're going to try her out and see if she runs. Alright, so we got the battery hooked up, the coolant's filled clear up. So now we're going to make our way around and see if we can get this thing to fire up. If not, we might have a wiring problem elsewhere in this bird nest of wiring. I'm hoping that this takes care of it. It's kind of showing the symptoms of a bad optispark, so we'll see here what we have. That seemed to take care of it. It wouldn't start at all before, so I think we've got that corrected. So I hope this video was helpful if you're replacing your optispark and water pump on an lt1. So I guess we're going to get back onto this 57 Roadmaster conversion. Thanks for watching.